Hi, this is Brian Whitehead from Cloud Technology Partners and Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And I'm here to talk with you about the use of hybrid IT in the financial services industry, using both on-premise capabilities in your own data centers in combination with the services and infrastructure available in public cloud. So most of this will be about what your peers are experiencing and the trends that are going on inside of financial services industry, so you can learn from what their experience has been and apply it to your own financial institution. So what I'll be talking about is in this agenda over the next 30 minutes. First, digital transformation, which is most financial institutions have a digital transformation program going on and what role hybrid IT plays in that digital transformation. We'll talk about the overall technology priorities that are common in large financial services companies. We'll talk about the use of hybrid cloud and data centers and public cloud in the industry. And then we'll wrap up by explaining how customers are migrating workloads to the cloud and how they're running them once they get there in a controlled fashion under regulatory compliance. So first off, digital transformation. This is the largest discretionary project that is going on inside of financial institutions and actually in most industries overall. And 40% of technology spending is being spent in the overall umbrella of digital transformation. But my experience in discussing this with clients has been that there's lots of different definitions of what digital transformation is. No one definition fits all. But in general, you would take a look at this description from MIT. Is probably characteristic of what I hear most often, and that is a radical rethinking of the digital interface between the customer and the financial institution, and then rebuilding whatever is necessary in the back end to present the information and the transactions to those customers in the way they want to see it rather than the way legacy applications happen to deliver those interfaces today. And most of our financial institutions have thousands of applications that are on average 8 or 9 years old, or in some cases even older than that. So there's a lot of work to do, and that's why all this money is being spent on digital transformation. And hybrid IT and public cloud are a big part of digital transformation. These are how some of our customers describe digital transformation, where you start with the client experience. You work with data-driven insights to be delivered to those clients as they are at Citi. You hear that they're reorganizing financial institutions around digital transformation and appointing chief digital officers, either to supplement CIOs or in place of CIOs, to get the focus more on the customer and less on the back office legacy systems. And JP Morgan Chase has taken this to the extreme and actually has 40,000 technologists and considers them a technology company, not necessarily a financial institution. So that's a whole different way of looking at your institution and your mission in life, to look at it from a technology perspective and a digital transformation perspective. I know that Goldman Sachs, when we were talking with Goldman Sachs, they're actually reorganizing Goldman Sachs around common processes that are connected with APIs, and rather than having a private bank or a wealth management bank or a retail bank, they're organizing the entire entity around transaction processing flow from end to end. That could be defined of let's say a stock clearing function, which would be available to multiple traditional bank functions. That would be an organizational unit, and make sure that that digital process is completely digitized from end to end with no analog handoffs in between, to make sure that the digital transformation really does dramatically transform the institution rather than just put a couple of band-aids around legacy systems. So it is a pretty dramatic and expensive proposition for financial services companies and other companies in general. These are the overall technology priorities and the green digital capacity, the digital transformation being the number one, as I described earlier. That feeds into the modernization of legacy systems, either through their elimination or through the replatforming of legacy systems onto more modern infrastructure. Helping manage the security and privacy of those is very important, as you might expect. And the workplace itself through Wi-Fi and edge capabilities. And then lastly, adopting cloud. I mean, some financial institutions have a mandate or have passed on a mandate to CIOs to adopt a certain amount of, or migrate a certain amount of workload over to public cloud. Most of that's in the 10 or 15% range in the industry, with a few notable exceptions. But that's coming on stronger and stronger. But just going to the cloud for the sake of going to the cloud is not the goal. Going to the cloud to enable the digital transformation and accelerate the transformation is really what it's all about. So here's where hybrid IT sits right now, according to RightScale. 22% of the companies are operating exclusively in the public cloud, and this is not tied directly to financial services. This is overall. 3% are running just in their data centers, and 69% of them are operating both in the public cloud as well as in their data centers. So the overwhelming majority is what we call hybrid IT, and probably more and more of that, 69% is migrating slowly over to public cloud. But hybrid is where most of our customers are at. And within the financial services industry, I would venture to say that the number is higher, that there are very few financial services companies, I don't know of any actually, that are completely public, at least not in the US. And but just about everybody that I talk to has something going on in the neighborhood of 5 or 6% at a minimum of workload running in public cloud and accelerating fast. The reasons why they're going more and more to public cloud is on the right-hand side of this slide. And it used to be of a financial incentive that people thought it was cheaper. And in many cases, it is cheaper. But you can see that those financial metrics, like desire to lower data center costs and the moving from CapEx to OpEx, these financial considerations are dropping down in priority. And what most customers, especially the larger ones, are interested in deploying not just infrastructure, but also applications faster than they've ever been before by an order of magnitude, with the agile development life cycles going to days and weeks rather than quarters that the waterfall methodology used, and having the ability to have on-demand capacity, globally distributed, backed up, bursting capability to manage the peaks in an economical fashion. So those are really the top drivers, is more about faster deployments and agility and getting access to the services that come from public cloud providers, with AWS having over 200 services available. Those are really the valuable things that people see in public cloud and what's driving most financial institutions to move workload over to public cloud. It's the business units within the financial institutions that want this speed, the agility to get after big data and analytic capabilities that they don't necessarily get from the in-house operations. And they're impatient, and they will go to the cloud if the centralized IT function doesn't do it for them. So it's all about agility, especially for the financial institutions. There's, the financial services industry has probably been the slowest industry to adopt public cloud for these reasons. Or data security and confidentiality was a big concern, back in 2009. Regulatory hurdles, the regulators weren't approving any kind of use of public cloud back in 2009. They had to be convinced that it was safe. But with the coming of companies like Capital One and others that publicly declared 6 or 7 years ago that they were migrating significant workloads to public cloud. Cap One said that they felt that the applications actually were more secure running in public cloud than they were in their own data centers. That keynote speech at AWS by the CIO of Cap One sort of woke up the industry, and now all of the other companies all the other banks are in catch-up mode and trying to catch up to Cap One, which probably has maybe 30 or 40% of its workload running now in public cloud, and most other banks are in the neighborhood of 10 or 15% in public cloud, but investing heavily to ramp that up. So the industry still is largely relies on private clouds. The virtualization off of bare metal has been a long strategy for a lot of companies. You see Bank of America started back in 2013 and has moved most of their workloads to public cloud, saving $2.1 billion in the process. Right, so they're heavily committed. Probably the prime example of a financial institution that believes that they have a private cloud that is less expensive than the public cloud and almost as fast in terms of agility, and they're heavily ran. But even Bank of America is starting to explore some possibilities for public cloud where the agility and speed is necessary. And then you have these other institutions like Vanguard City and DTCC that have been using public cloud in the right places more and more, a lot of cloud native development, and even some lift and shift strategies to get significant workload over to the public cloud providers. But most of it is in refactoring or cloud native development to take advantage of big data and analytic capabilities and those services I was talking about earlier that come from AWS and to a lesser extent Microsoft. That's really what the businesses want, and IT has no choice but to be responsive to those demands that the business units are putting out. So we believe in this. We believe in hybrid IT. We were one of the first companies to declare that the world would be hybrid IT back 6 or 7 years ago, and that is coming to fruition, as you saw in the pie chart earlier. We have built our business around supporting our clients in the hybrid IT environment, both in the data centers and in the public cloud. So we are able to help our clients accelerate their adoption of the public cloud to still run a private cloud in an economical way that's cost competitive on parity with the public cloud costs on a consumption basis. And to optimize your deployments so that they run quickly and economically in both the private cloud and the public cloud, and free up some capacity and drive down your run rates to keep the lights on, so that you free up some dollars for investment in those digital transformation projects that I talked about earlier. And this is an example of some work that we did for a client where a financial services client that were able to reduce their run rate by 50% while we are migrating, in this case, 80% of their workload over to public cloud. So that's a long journey for them. They believe that it's in excess of 5 years to get to that 80% run rate. They're still going to rely extensively on-premise in the interim. And even in the long term, there's going to be a good portion, 20% of their will always be running in their data centers. But we're able to drive down the cost of those data centers through converting them over to consumption pricing from the capital purchases that they're used to. The over provisioning that causes, about 30% of their environment is most banks have about 30% more equipment than they actually use sitting there idle. So we've been able to deliver compute capacity in your data centers and be able to charge you just for what you use, much like the pricing model for the public cloud. That's a significant drop in your run rate. That, together with the automation capabilities that we've embedded, automated software-defined capabilities inside of our infrastructure and deliver that in a push-button experience when the equipment arrives at your site. That also automates a lot of what's being done manually in the data center today by people, so we can drive to get to a total reduction of about 50%, freeing up monies for investment in that digital transformation while migrating applications to the public cloud. Our company strategy is focused on the edge, which includes the Internet of Things and the workspaces with Wi-Fi capabilities and the sensors that are in the Internet of Things. It's a big part of a business and growing very rapidly. We obviously believe in hybrid cloud and modernizing the data centers with container technologies to get to the cloud quicker, and then getting the data-driven capabilities of AI and analytics in a secure way. So these are the kinds of products and services that we are focused on now within HPE. And these come from acquisitions that we've made specifically to be the provider of services of hybrid IT, both in public cloud and on-prem. Aruba was acquired to get us to be a big player on the edge in workspaces and in the Internet of Things. CTP and Red Pixie were acquired to get us the public cloud capabilities that I've been talking about, and then Blue Data, Cray, and MapR are getting us the ability to store and process large volumes of data and provide them in in-memory compute platforms that can provide analytic results at speeds that have never been seen before in commercial workplaces. So this is our strategy, and we have made our acquisitions and structured our company around these capabilities. This is a bit of a busy description on how we help our customers learn about the use of the public cloud, build business cases to see if it makes economic sense to move to public cloud, assess their applications and their legacy applications, and make decisions on whether those applications should be refactored or rewritten in cloud native, or whether they should be rehosted and lifted and shifted into the environment or retired overall. So those are done through a automated assessment capability that we have that assesses applications and then makes recommendations on what the best destination of those applications are. And then we help you build those applications, migrate them, and innovate them with the cloud native capabilities, and then operate them once you get them into the public cloud to make sure that the costs of those operations are controlled and that they remain in compliance with both your standards as well as the regulatory standards. We do this in a self-funding way. So while we're modernizing the data center and generating savings out of your legacy data centers by using software-defined capabilities and increasing the density of the footprint and reducing the number of servers that you have on fewer, more powerful servers that are less expensive to operate. All those savings can then be channeled into your digital transformation efforts on the top of this diagram through enabling your people, training your people, helping you move to the cloud, and then run in the cloud. So we do both of these in parallel. So you create a self-funding program for a digital transformation rather than looking at a huge price tag for a digital transformation with very little payback. And our clients are asking for these foundational services, asking us for helping in analyzing their applications with the automated capability I talked about, and building innovative new products with cloud native capabilities in all three of the clouds, all the three of public clouds. We have people that understand how to do that in a cloud native fashion, and these are the kinds of financial services companies that we've worked with to make this happen. And that's the end of our story. I would encourage all of you who, when you share this with your client, to pause on just about every slide and ask them to validate whether the experience that we're relating of their peers is what they're experiencing, or how does it differ, gives them an opportunity to direct the conversation so that you can start to learn whether they believe in the public cloud or they're intimidated by the public cloud, where their concerns might be with the public cloud, and where they want to end up, whatever kind of technology biases they may have. You could find out whether they have a digital transformation initiative, what's the budget for that digital transformation, who's running it, who's in charge of the business side of that transformation, who's in charge of the technology side, who's the public cloud lead. Do you have a cloud business office that's managing that cloud transformation or the larger digital transformation? All these are kinds of questions that you can ask along the way to make this an interactive conversation with your clients. So that's it for me. If you have any questions or feedback, you can contact me through email, and I'll give you a call back and we can discuss it further. Thanks and good luck. Bye-bye.